Good evening, everyone. Thank you for that beautiful, beautiful harp music. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see some familiar faces. For any of you who are new, we welcome you. There are just a few things we need to be aware of. If you need to use the restroom, you go through the doors there to my left. And this is a spiritual service, so we show our appreciations. You can use your hands, but we save our clapping for the end. And there are also some pamphlets and different information on the back table that you can look at from different presenters that are presenting tonight. This service wouldn't happen without you. Every month, 17th service. It's really amazing. And I invite you to contribute by the giving in the donation box. Expressing kindness, expressions of kindness. This theme came to me as I was thinking of all the people in our community and all the people all over the world who are really stepping forward on their own and really giving to each other in their communities. And so I wanted to have people in our community who give of themselves. So, in the Buddhist tradition, there's a way of being, a way of understanding, and a way of sitting with the parts of people, the suffering parts of people, without judgment, just being with, understanding, and sitting with, and experiencing the suffering. So, one of the practices that I do is to think of someone that you might have a hard time with. I'm sure we can all think of someone. And to think about, even if it's just one little thing about them, something that they love. Maybe they love flowers. Maybe they care about the way they look. It doesn't have to be something that you're in line with, some belief. It could be somebody of a totally different belief. And to really be with that, and to feel the connection with that person on that level. So if you would like to join me, I would like to take a moment to actually do that practice. So if you could think of someone, you can close your eyes or leave your eyes open. And think of someone, it could be someone you don't even know, it could be a political person, or somebody, a neighbor, anyone. And think of something, it could be that they love the way they get their hair done, or they love wearing a certain kind of jewelry. And just really being with them and appreciating that, and tuning into their innate goodness through that. So we'll take just a moment. See this person. recognize their qualities that lead them to having this appreciation for whatever it is that they appreciate. And then feeling the connection between you and them regarding this appreciation for whatever it is they appreciate. Seeing how it might make them smile, make them happy. Be with that understanding of that part of them that is expressing their innate goodness. Moving down from your head to your heart. Making no judgment of them. Just feeling that joyous connection. And maybe the next time you see that person, you can think about that connection that you now have. Or if you hear that person speaking on television or wherever, you can think of that connection and feel it within your heart. Om mani baby, 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 om.
We are all just walking each other home. 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 We are all just walking each other home.
I'm going to just share a couple stories from the Sikh faith. Right now we're celebrating Guru Nanak's birthday, who's the founder of the Sikh religion, and it's the 550th anniversary of his birth. So I wanted to start with this short story of Guru Nanak and then end with a short story that in some way honors Veterans Day. So the first story is Guru Nanak would travel. He traveled all over on foot. He traveled all over India. He traveled through Afghanistan. He traveled through China. And he often would dress very humbly and not in any way that would bring a lot of attention, and depending on where he was going, or he would travel and he would dress the way other people in the area dressed. So he was traveling through Punjab, and he came across a village in the evening, and he had two companions with him, and they were looking for a place to stay for the evening, and this is obviously before hotels. And so they knocked on some doors and were turned away, and they knocked on this small hut, and this man came forward, and he immediately said, "Come inside, it's cold out there, you must be hungry, you must be tired," and took care of them and fed them. He had very little food. He gave them chapati, which is a bread, and it was kind of old, so it was a little stale, and then he had some dal, which is like a soup, and fed them, but of course, being hungry and tired, and it was delicious, and he did it with so much love. And so then the next day, when he was dressed, the the man realized who it was, and he was like, "Oh my God, it's Guru Nanak. You came into my home, and all I had was such simple food." And and he said, "No, what you gave me was wonderful, and you took such good care of us, and thank you." So in the village there was the landowner that pretty much owned most of the village. He was the wealthy person in the village, and he found out that Guru Nanak was in town, and he was immediately wanting him to come to his big, huge home and wanted to feed him and take care of him. And at first Guru Nanak just said, "No, it's fine, I'm fine." But then a servant came from the man's home and said, "If you don't come, I'm gonna get in trouble, so please come." So Guru Nanak said, "Okay." So then the man, his name was Malik Bago, and he said, "How come you came through town and you didn't let me know? I have the biggest home, I have lots of beautiful food, I could take care of you in the best way, which you deserve, you're the guru." And he said, "No, I was fine, I stayed with Lalo." And he said, "Lalo, he's from a lowly caste, he's a carpenter, why would you stay with him? He's one of the poorest people in the village." And Guru Nanak said, "Why don't you bring me some of your food that you want to serve me?" And so he brought all these delicious foods to him, and then he called one of his companions. He said, "Go to Lalo's house and bring me something from his home, some food from his home." And when he took the food in his hand, and obviously this is a metaphor, but he squeezed the first hand, which had Malik Bago's food, and blood came out. And he squeezed the food from Lalo's hand, and milk came out. And he was explaining to him that your food was created by the blood and sweat of others, and by other people's hard work, that you're not paying them properly, you're not taking care of them, and yet you now have all this wealth. Whereas Lalo, he works very hard, and so when he does things, he does it with a pure heart, and so that's why milk and sweetness comes out. And the second story is from Guru Gobind Singh, and so the concept of seva or service is very prominent. It's basically, I think, the tenet of the Sikh religion is, service and to serve others. And the reason why you see Sikhs in the wear turban and they look so distinct is because it was to bring attention to that person because of the way they're dressed and because of who they are. They're supposed to serve you if you need help. They're supposed to protect you if you need someone to protect you. If you're hungry, they should take care of you. So this was, like I said, a tenet from the very beginning and through. So Guru Gobind Singh was the 10th guru of the Sikhs, and during the time that he was the guru, there was a lot of unrest within India, and the rulers of India were really trying to consolidate power and saw Sikhs as rebels and saw them as kind of because they were refusing to bow to the rulers of India. They were refusing to change who they were, and so it was a time of unrest, and because of it, the Sikhs were constantly having to go into battle and fight, to defend their faith, defend who they were, defend others, and so one time when they were on the battlefield, some Sikhs came to Guru Gobind Singh and they said, "One of the soldiers is out there and he's giving water and to the wounded, and he's cleaning their wounds and he's healing them and he's helping them." And Guru Gobind Singh said, "Great, that's wonderful." And he said, "No, but the problem is he's not just giving it to the Sikhs, he's giving it to whoever is on the battlefield. If he sees anyone, it doesn't matter if he sees, if they're our enemy or if they're one of our soldiers, he's still serving them, he's still bandaging them up, and giving them water and making them whole again, and then they're good to go and fight against us." So Gregom says, okay, bring him to me, and I'll let me talk to him. So his name was Kanaya, by Kanaya, and he said, what's going on? I'm hearing that you're not only helping the Sikh soldiers that have fallen, and you're not only nursing them, but you're also helping the other ones, the other soldiers from the opposition. And Baikanaya said, when I go out on the battlefield, I don't see good or bad. I don't see a Sikh or not a Sikh, or I don't see someone that's one of us and someone that's not one of us. I see you. And I feel like every person I see that needs help, they're no longer fighting. They're in a place of pain and suffering, and they need to be taken care of. And that's why I do that. And Guru Gobind Singh said, okay, keep doing what you're doing. Go back out there and keep doing that. And so, again, so I feel like in that way, honors veterans, I hope, and honors service, and explains why we wear this identity and what this is about. And I think that it's something that really does unite all of us in every way of life. I think service is one of the most wonderful things we can do as human beings, is to serve each other, help each other, and see God in all. So thank you very much.
Many years ago, a poet friend of mine shared his definition of kindness. He said, kindness means that we are all of a kind. He said that kindness means that what we share in common overrides our differences. So I'd like to share a little story of kindness that occurred about 3 years ago. So it was a Sunday morning, and I was leaving my church, coming down the front steps of my church and walking across campus and heading toward downtown. And on Sunday mornings, my custom is to have sandwiches in my backpack. So on this morning, I had some sandwiches that I was going to give away to whoever looked like they needed a sandwich. So I find myself walking on East 12th Avenue. And a couple of blocks ahead of me is Whitebird Clinic. And about a block ahead of me, I notice a woman sitting on the sidewalk, propped up against a white picket fence. And I think, she might need a sandwich. So I approach, and I come to stand in front of her. And I intentionally pull my earbuds out of my ears and look into her eyes. And I say to her, "How are you doing today?" And she replies, "Pff, pff," kind of like, get out of my way. Pff, go away. And I thought, you can't just make me go away. So I said to her, in my backpack I have some sandwiches, homemade bread, fresh ground peanut butter. Would you like a sandwich? Well, she had to think about it. I knew that she was famished, but she kind of had to think about it. And then she said, well, all right. So I slip off my backpack and open up the little front pouch, and I pull out a Ziploc bag with a sandwich in it. And I hold out the sandwich. I reach out my arm toward her, And then she reaches out her arm toward me. And then all of a sudden she says, "Why, looky there." And she's pointing at my wrist. And I see on my wrist, my 6 silver filigree bracelets. And she holds out her arm and pulls back a sleeve, and she has 6 copper filigree bracelets. She says, "Why, looky there. We're sisters." She says to me, "We're sisters." "We're sisters," she says to me. And I say to her, "Well, my name is Maria." Maria is my street name. And she says, "My name is Carrie." And I said, "Carrie, it is good to be with you today." And we reached out our hands, and we held each other's hands for a couple of minutes. And she tells me she's a jewelry maker. She loves jewelry, and I can now begin to see a few pieces of jewelry that she has, beautiful pieces. She says, "I love to create things. I love things that are beautiful." And so we talked a little bit more, and then I bid her adieu and went on down the street. And I reminded myself of her name. Her name is Carrie. Carrie. I want to embed that name in my memory. Carrie. Her name is Carrie. And I'm glad I did, because about 3 months later, on the front page of my local newspaper, I see an article, and there's a photo of my sister, Carrie. And in the headline, I see her name, Carrie Miller. She had a family name. And the article recounted how 2 nights before, on a bitter cold night, she had died on the front porch of White Bird Clinic. A death that was a tragedy. A death that should not have happened. So I went to her memorial service, and the chapel was packed because everyone knew and loved Mama Carrie. That's how she was known, Mama Carrie. And I remember the words, kindness means we are of a kind. Kindness is the reason for justice. Kindness is the reason for generosity. Kindness is the reason for joy.
Hello, my name is Ani, and I'm here also to talk about singing each other home. One of my favorite quotes from the Course in Miracles is, "Everything is either love or a call for love." And these days it seems there are so many calls for love. We respond to those calls with kindness. And the call that resonates to me is the call that a person would make when they got that 6-month terminal diagnosis. Can you imagine what that would feel like? So I volunteer with a nonprofit organization called End of Life Choices Oregon. We have 6 teams around the state, and all of our services are free. We work hand in hand with hospices, and our purpose is to educate and support people as they explore all of their end-of-life choices, including medical aid in dying or death with dignity. That law was written 25 years ago, and it's very specific. You have to do everything in the right order at the right time, and it can be daunting for a sick person to try to understand how to go through all those steps. And so that's why we're here to help a person find their way to a peaceful death. If a person decides they want to pursue medical aid in dying, to get the prescription of life-ending medication, we help them through those steps. And then later, if they decide that they actually want to take the medication, we go back to their homes and mix it up and support them and their family and friends as they go through that dying process. So now I'll share a sweet little story about one of my clients. With her family's permission, her name was Linda, and she was in her 70s. She'd been diagnosed with ALS several years ago, and the disease progressed slowly from her feet up through her body. By the time I met her, she was in a wheelchair, not able to walk, and the disease was beginning to affect her organs. She was losing weight and was having trouble breathing. So we met once. We do a house call, my partner and I, and talked with her and answered her questions. And then a couple of weeks later, she called to see if we would come back and talk with more of her friends and family. And that was really good because I got a chance to explain that in the law it says that this is not suicide because Linda didn't have a choice whether she would live or die. She was dying, and the only choice that she had was the timing and the way. And I could tell them that the death certificate would say she died of ALS. So we helped her get her prescription for the medication, and then we just waited to see if she would even have it filled at the pharmacy. About a third of the people who get the prescription don't use it. They die of the natural causes of their disease, but it gives them peace of mind just knowing that they have that sense of control. And her best friend told me, I don't think Linda's ever going to do that. She has a hard time making big decisions. So a few weeks later, I was very surprised when she called and said that yes, she had chosen a date for her planned death. I think that there were 3 motivating factors. The first was that one night while her aide was in the kitchen doing the dishes, she took a sip of water and aspirated and didn't have enough breath to clear the water. And it gave her such panic, this air hunger, I think they call it. And so that was one motivating factor, having experienced that panic. And she also asked her hospice nurse to describe what a death by ALS would look like. The nurse really didn't want to, and Linda really forced her to tell me what would it look like. And the nurse complied. It was a difficult conversation. And then the third factor was having a hard time making decisions. Every few years, her birthday would fall on the same day as Mother's Day. And she decided that was a sign that she would choose that day for her planned death. So on that Sunday in May, my partner and I arrived around 5 o'clock in the evening, watching all the people leaving. She'd had a big birthday, happy Mother's Day party all day long. And after we went inside, I asked to be sure, do you really want to go through with this? She said, yes, but it's so surreal. So after the hour that it took for us to prepare the medication, she was sitting up in her bed, in her sunroom, surrounded by family members and her best friend. We followed the protocol once more and asked, do you know what this medication will do when you drink it? She said, yes. And she drank it right down. And then her friend said, would you like some music? And Linda said, yes, sing for me. Well, what do you want us to sing to you? She said, happy birthday. So we all sang with tears in our voices. And when we were finished, she said, with a smile on her face, I'm feeling a little dizzy. And she lay back on the pillows and closed her eyes and went to sleep. Her breathing ended in a few moments, and her heart stopped beating. It was such a peaceful, love-filled death, and an honor to be with her. At the very heart of this volunteer work is kindness. Thank you.
I will need a moment to collect myself after hearing both of those two stories of the last presenters. Thank you so much for sharing that. I would like to share some thoughts with you tonight, my own personal thoughts about divine kindness and my human experience of it. I first thought of divine kindness when I heard about the theme for tonight. I thought of Rumi's poem in which he says, "For 60 years I've been forgetful. Every moment, but not for a second, has this flowing toward me stopped or slowed." I remember how I have never felt judged when my little self turns towards the divine. In my experience, judgments have always just come from human beings, mostly myself. Many of the divine 99 beautiful names of Allah express this kindness, which flows toward us and embraces us unwaveringly, and which flows from our hearts when we open them. Our Rauf, the most kind, the tenderly merciful, the one whose gentleness, kindness, and mercy are beyond understanding. Al-Wadud, the most loving kindness, the one who is the source of all love and loving kindness. Ar-Rahman, the one whose perfect mercy and loving beneficence endlessly embraces all of creation. What greater, lasting, and powerful examples of divine kindness are there than our master saints and prophets, male and female and otherwise, of all of our faiths and religions? It is Spirit, God, Allah, boundless awareness born into bodies, often in times of great need, who light the way, offer direction, hope, and healing, and who still make themselves available to anybody who sincerely asks. Every time I actually manage to remember this, my heart fills with gratitude and humility. Rumi was aware of that too. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, come. This is not a caravan of despair. It does not matter if you've broken your vow 1,000 times. Still come, and yet again, come. When I heard the title about tonight's evening, I also thought about Earth. I love nature, its solitude, its beauty. Being in nature fills my heart, rejuvenates me, and heals my soul. I have felt pain disappear into the sand. I've noticed thistle feeding birds while on retreat, and then felt more accepting of my own prickly sides. I eat her vibrantly alive fruits and vegetables, fragrant grains for my bread, soft fibers to clothe me, her trees that give their lives so I can have a home. It's her miraculously clean water that flows from the well right out of my faucets. She makes my life possible. Yet it never before occurred to me to see all that as expressions of her kindness and her love for me, for all of us. Let's spend a few breaths in silence, contemplating the many expressions of kindness from the realm of the divine, earth, ourselves, and others that we so easily overlook, that we don't even recognize or take for granted. There is much unkindness in the world. I'm not saying let's ignore that. I am saying let's pay attention to what kindness there is. Let's notice it in each other, in earth, in the divine. Each kindness we notice grows seeds of kind action and thoughts in us. It will help us keep our hearts open in the face of such adversity. It deepens our ability to love and expand what we can embrace to love. And in that way, we will contribute for peace.
Good acoustics. We don't need a microphone, right? This is John Brooks, whose name is not mentioned in the program tonight. This is a late edition. And this was written on the side of the river here in town with a man named Chad who just started a riff. I wrote this improvisation. It's coming to you, or maybe I carry you around, wakes you up from a deep sleep, becomes the food you need to eat, love. I said love. It's like the clouds up in the sky, makes you stop and wonder why things go round, things go round, they go round and round. You say nothing's changed, nothing's new. Seems like the color of you is mostly blue, but there's love, 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 love.
Well, that was a beautiful evening, huh? And thank you so much. Getting into that riff and that rhythm of that could last for a long time. So I want to teach you a song tonight to conclude the evening. I will build this world with love. And the Hebrew part, in Hebrew, the word for kindness is chesed, selfless love, giving. So the song goes like this, and you'll tune into the ayayayas, I think. Olam chesed yibaneh ay. Olam chesed yibaneh ay. Olam chesed yibaneh I will build this world from love. I will build this world from love. And you will build this world from love. And you will build this world from love. And if we build this world from love, and if we build this world from love, then God will build this world. Then God will build this world from love. this world from love. And if we build this world from love, then God will build this world from love. So now's the time when you get a chance to thank all the presenters. They're so beautiful. And now's the time to take also, thank you so much for those of you that remember. Just take 5 seconds right now to remember our veterans. Most of you know veterans. My dad was a veteran. Many people in this room. Just take a few seconds now to remember our veterans that served and that passed away in battle or afterwards. Yizichan Baruch, may their memories be a blessing. So the Interfaith Service, IPSI, relies on your contributions, both in money, and contributions in cash and checks, but also in your spirit. So those of you that are called to serve, please talk to our board members. Would you raise your hand, board members? They would be happy to welcome your service of your love and your time and your money. Let's reverse the order. Money, time, service, your heart. And if you want to participate up here, please talk to us. Next month is service on December 11th, and the service theme is light from the darkness, because that's what's going on toward the solstice. We invite you to please come next month. And once again, thank you all for coming. You are the Interfaith Service. And we'll finish this with a blessing for everybody, that they find a way to be kind, they elevate kindness in this world, and build the world through love and kindness. Thank you all for coming. Shalom, shalom. Namaste.